that we are all working towards. So thank you so much. So officially, we want to start the program. The press, we want to start. We will start with an opening prayer. Do we take the same routine? Yes. Okay, I give you a minute. We pray in our own ways for the success of today's program. Thank you. Bismillah. Amen. And once again, thank you so much. I cannot stop saying thank you, thank you, thank you, because I am just happy with what I have seen. Even though we had sleepless nights, but we are really impressed, and the outcome of our preparation surpassed the efforts we have made. So this shows that even if we had not had sleepless night, we will still have a full and committed hall. So on that note, we are very much grateful, and we are happy. So in the program today, maybe we will allow the police band to give us one more nice thing, then from there we will move into our program proper. Thank you. Thank you so much. First and foremost, we would want to welcome our international guests once again in the Gambia. We hope you're having a nice stay in our country, and then I hope you will go home with one or two words of the Gambian language. When I come to Kenya, I will make sure I see you and ask you how many words are you still left with, because I came with many, but I cannot remember one now. All right, thank you so much. And then to Nada na Nadede, we welcome you. She's the one that came from Ghana. She's also here with us. So on the program today, we have experience sharing, with our sister countries. They have been doing very well in social protection. We went there, we saw what is happening there, and we are impressed with what we have seen. So we believe our sector in the Gambia should also see and know what is happening in those countries. Generally, if you look at Africa, Ghana, Kenya, and some few other countries are powerhouses when it comes to social protection. So on that note, if we want to reach there, we will have to learn from what good they have been doing so that we can also adjust to that. So that is why we have them in our midst today to take us through what they are doing good in those various areas. So for Kenya, we want to know the Inu Jami program. That is their government cash assistance program that is happening in Kenya, and it is covering as much people as possible. And then this is something good that every country that wants to support the poor, vulnerable, elderly, and so on need to learn from. On Ghana, we went there and then we were working on a grievance redress mechanism structure in the Gambia here. We wanted complainants, we wanted people that are benefiting programs to have access, opportunity to complain if they feel whatever is happening is not going right. We started this structure, but when we went to Ghana, we realized that what they have is unique, and then we also want to learn from that. So today we are going to witness these two experience sharing sessions. After that, we will review the call to action paper. The output of this program, this 3 days conference, is to come up with a call to action paper. This call to action paper we are going to present to government to say the convergence have agreed on A, B, and C. So we will read it through, you look at it, whatever you feel we need to adjust, we can adjust. Whatever we need to remove, we can do the same, so that it becomes what is agreed from this conference, not from our rapporteurs or from NSPS. And after that, we will now enter the closing ceremony, the closing session. In the closing session, we will have the national coordinator, who I believe already is very happy to say he is happy or he is not happy. But I believe he is coming here to say he is very happy. And that is the vote of thanks. And then after that, we will have the handing over of the call to action paper, and then the closing remarks by the Vice President or any minister he is going to delegate to come here today. So that is the program for today, and I hope we are all ready and prepared for the day today. We hope if things goes well, we finish by lunch, we all go to our respective places. So thank you so much once again for coming and then for being with us throughout this ceremony. I don't know whether you know my name. Okay. I am Malang Jao. I am the Communication Officer at the National Social Protection Secretariat, stepping in for our able moderator. So thank you so much. We will move straight to the program now. We will want to invite I want to welcome Jinta Omi. Please give her a round of applause. Jinta is coming from the National Social Protection Secretariat in Kenya. And he is joined on the stage by Paul Njorongi. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Directorate of Social Assistance, and then they are the ones that are responsible for the Inu Jami. So, Madam, you will want to come here?
Okay, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Habari ya asubuhi. That is the Kiswahili word for good morning. So I'm happy to be here. As you have heard, I'm Jinta Omi. Jinta is from the National Social Protection Secretariat, Kenya, the same we have here. So I just wanted to say that at the National Social Protection Secretariat, our mandate is policy and legislation for social protection programs. And apart from that, we do coordination. I was very happy when the panelists were here and were talking about different programs in social protection. So we also coordinate the same, and there are some that we also do ourselves. So for today, I know we work with the different departments, very many programs, but for the Gambian case, we'll only be here for one program, that is Inu Jami. So for those who understand Kiswahili, Inua is a Kiswahili word for uplifting. You uplift. Jamii is families. That is families, so uplifting families. So normally, when we want to brand programs, we go to the Kiswahili way. We now move away from English, give them Kiswahili, because Kiswahili will reach the grassroots all over. So even if you get an older person ask about Inu Jami, they understand this program. So that is why we are here today. So the department we coordinate that does Inu Jami is the Directorate of Social Assistance. And that is where my colleague Njoroge Paul comes from. So with that, I would give Njoroge a chance to come and take us through the Inu Jami program so that we understand it. So with that, Njoroge, karibu.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam. Thank you so much, Mr. Njau, from the National Social Protection Secretariat of the Gambia. My name is Paul Njoroge Wangi, as Mr. Njau and Madam has rightly put it. I work under the State Department for Social Protection and under the Directorate of Social Assistance, which is mandated to implement the National Cash Transfer Program. It's a good morning, and allow me to greet you in the Gambian way. Nakasubasi. Yeah, Asan is teaching me a lot of the Gambian language. He also told me Nangadef also means how are you? In Kenya we say habari yako. How are you is habari yako. Yeah, so in Kenya the Swahili is the national language, and English is the official language. Okay, even as we wait for them to set up. So I think the journey for Inu Jami began sometime in 2004. And as Madam has rightly put it, Inu Jami means uplifting the community. It began somewhere in 2004. During this time, the government was trying to address challenges that came up with the HIV and AIDS scourge. So the government piloted for the first time a cash transfer for orphans and vulnerable children. So you realize that out of the HIV and AIDS, we had so many orphans being left out unattended. So we had 3 main districts that piloted the program, and the first transfer value for the cash transfer by that time was around 500 Kenya shillings. I don't know how much that is in the Gambian currency. Dalasi, I think, we divide by 9 is a little, very little money by that time. But it was being given 500. And then it was expanded to other districts. And later on, in around 2007, it was actually rolled out to a national level. And then the next program that came up was the cash transfer for older person, came up in 2007 again, piloted again in 3 districts, but also rolled out in the entire country in 2010. And the last program that was piloted and also rolled out was the cash transfer for people with severe disabilities. That was piloted and rolled out in 2010. So basically, that is the genesis of the cash transfer programs in the country, in Kenya. So Kenya is, within the Republic, I think, we have 47 counties. 47 counties. So the country is divided into counties. So we have the national government, and we also have the devolved system of government. So we have the devolved system of government, and I've interacted with 2 governors so far, and I also understand that you also have regional governments or regional administrative units. So in Kenya, we have a devolved system of government, and also we have the national government. So we come from the national government, I and Madam, but we have 47 devolved counties. Within these counties, we also have what we call constituencies. So we have 290 constituencies. So a county in Kenya is governed by a governor at that level. And then a constituency is represented in parliament by a member of parliament. So we have 47 governors, we have 47 senators, we have 290 members of parliament, we have 47 women representatives representing women interests at the county level. So that is the political structure and administrative structure in Kenya. So approximately 50 million in terms of the population. We're looking at, by 2019 statistics, about 36% of our population was living in poverty, and the cash transfer covers only around 2.4% of this population. So it's a small number. So, like I said earlier, we have, at the national level, you have 4 cash transfers. We have cash transfer for older persons, cash transfer for persons with for orphans and vulnerable children, and you also have cash transfer for persons with severe disability, as well as the hunger safety net cash transfer. Okay, thank you. So the hunger safety net cash transfer is implemented in a different agency called the National Drought Management Authority. I also heard that you also do have an agency that manages the drought-related issues in the Gambia. We also have an agency called the National Drought Management Authority that actually implements the hunger safety net cash transfer. So this hunger safety net is not a national program. It doesn't cover all the counties. It is actually in 4 main arid and semi-arid counties in the northern part of Kenya, counties that have severe drought and famine. So they do cash transfer for families there. It is expanding to 4 additional arid and semi-arid counties this financial year. The cash transfer programs are actually anchored in our own constitution under Article 43 and Article 21 of the Constitution of Kenya, and of course they are flagship projects under the social pillar of the Vision 2030. So in the country we have a vision that has been spelled out. We call it Vision 2030, that actually spells out some of our targets that we want to achieve as a nation. Of course, we are guided by the policy of 2011, the Kenya National Social Protection Policy, but which is currently under review. So we might be having very soon the 2023 version of the policy document. The vision, mission, and overall objective of the Inu Jami program. Vision is to have a society where poor and vulnerable persons enjoy their rights and live in dignity. The mission is to effectively and efficiently deliver cash transfers to the poor and vulnerable persons in the country. And the overall program objective is to provide social protection system through regular and predictable cash transfers to poor and vulnerable households that take care of OVCs, older persons, and people with severe disabilities, with aim of building their capacity to be able to live a life of dignity and exploit their human potential. So basically, that is the overall objective of the program, and of course, mission and the vision of the Inu Jami program. So in terms of the institutional arrangement, of course, we are at the national government level. So we have a ministry. It's called the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, which is headed by a CS, that is the Cabinet Secretary. Then we have the State Department of Social Protection and Senior Citizens Affairs, that is headed by a Principal Secretary. And of course, the National Social Protection Secretariat, that is headed by the Coordinator, National Social Protection Secretariat. We have under the National Social Protection Secretariat, we have a National Steering Committee on Social Protection. And of course, now the Directorate of Social Assistance, where I come from, that is actually is mandated to oversee the day-to-day implementation of the cash transfer. And under that, we have the administration and communication aspects of the program. We have the targeting, enrollment, and recertification. We have management information system. We have the funds management and payments. We have grievance case management, and as well as monitoring, evaluation, learning, and research. But at the county level and sub-county level, we have officers manning who are in charge of the program. You realize that at the national level, we have a lean team of officers, but the actual implementation of the program happens at the county and sub-county level. So we have over close to 1,000 officers spread across the county and sub-county. So we have regional county coordinators, we have county coordinators, we have sub-county coordinators. So I had given you the history of the cash transfers. I think my screen there has shut off, so I'll still use this. So I had given you the history of the cash transfer, so that one I will not really go into. But in terms of the growth, in terms of numbers, you can be able to see that from 2000 and we have grown in terms of numbers. 2013, you can see how the numbers have been coming up to 2023. This is just a snapshot of the growth, just to indicate how the numbers have been coming. So since 2013-14, we have had a series of scale-ups, what we call scale-ups or bringing on board additional beneficiaries. So in 2015-16, we had a scale-up of older persons cash transfer and CTOVC, as well as persons with severe disability. And as late as this year, we have also had a scale-up. So you can see the number has grown from about 516 in 2013-2014 financial year to around 1.33 million households. So if you multiply by the average household size of 5 members, you can see the numbers are over close to 6 million beneficiaries across the country. So that is how the growth has been over the years. The transfer value has also grown. So we began with a pilot of 500 shillings, Kenya shillings, in 2004. And today we are doing 2,000 shillings per month. That is equivalent to approximately 13 USD. And then maybe in terms of the Gambian currency, I think it's around 120 or something, thereabout. Dalasi, maybe, if you convert with the current exchange rate. But for the hunger safety net, I think for them, they are a bit higher in terms of the transfer value. Sorry, it's not 13 USD, it's around 18 USD So because for them, they give 2,700 in the arid and semi-arid area per month. So payment is done every month. So this is a departure from bi-monthly payment. So we used to pay every 2 months. We used to call them cycles of payments. But since the new government took over, I think one of the pledges that the president gave, and those people who attended the conference in around April, you recall the president pledging that payment for all social assistance programs will be done before any payments of any civil servant. And the president has actually made sure that this happens. So we have been paying before civil servants are paid. So we have been consistently paying since July up to today. We have paid every month before civil servants get paid. That's the commitment for the president, and it has actually happened. So this one has really helped in terms of predictability of the disbursements, and people can now be able to, the beneficiaries can now be able to plan ahead of receiving the cash. So I had mentioned earlier that we have a system that actually supports in the terms of the implementation, the day-to-day running of the program. It's called the Consolidated Cash Transfer Management Information System. Why consolidated? Is because previously these programs used to be implemented by different agencies or departments within the ministry. For the orphans and vulnerable children cash transfer, we used to have the Department of Children's Services implementing the program, so they had their own management information system. For older persons, we had Department of Social Development implementing, so we had our own management information system. And for the person with severe disability as well. But in 2016-2017, there was a consolidation strategy that was designed that actually informed. One of the recommendations of the strategy was that we need to come up with a system that is talking for all the programs. And that's how the Consolidated Cash Transfer Management Information System was actually conceived, designed, and rolled out. So currently, all operations of the cash transfer Inu Jami program are actually run through the Consolidated Cash Transfer Management Information System, popularly known as the CCTPMIS. So this is just a tool that automates the operations. Like I said, it has several features. There's a beneficiary registration and management, how you identify beneficiaries, how you do targeting, and so on and so forth. There's a whole module for that. There's the payment, processing, and disbursements, how you generate payrolls, how you do pre-payroll checks, and how you communicate with the payment service providers, and how you get reconciliation reports. That one is also done under that. There's the element of the program monitoring and evaluation. There's a whole module for M&E, data integration and interoperability. There is the way in which the system speaks into other agencies and other government databases, such as the civil registration, the IPRS, that is the Integrated Population Registration Services, that actually stores all the national IDs for the country. We have the National Registration Bureau, and so on and so forth. So this system speaks into those agencies so that we can be able to do data validation, data verification, and so on and so forth. Of course, there's the element of security and data privacy. So the system also makes sure that there is a lot of security as far as data for beneficiaries is concerned. Within our country, we have the Data Protection Act that actually makes sure that you cannot manipulate or share sensitive data belonging to beneficiaries without express authority from the relevant agencies. So that is basically as far as the system is concerned. We might not go so much into details about how the payrolls are generated and so on and so forth, but at least I'm giving a high-level picture of how the cash transfer is run. There's also a module under the targeting, enrollment, and recertification. So this is now a module that is responsible for identification of potential beneficiaries, the registration of the same beneficiaries, enrollment of the same beneficiaries, and also the recertification aspect of the program. So targeting, as we already know, and I think yesterday we were taken through the process or the pros and cons of the targeting processes and the methodologies. Enrollment is just basically onboarding beneficiaries into the payment platform. And of course, the recertification is actually the element of reconfirming the welfare status of the beneficiaries or households for that matter. So we do targeting, that's the process. We do enrollment, we do payment, we do recertification, but along the way, there is the element of the grievance and redress mechanism, there's the element of the communication, and of course, monitoring, evaluation, research, and learning. So that is basically how the process flows. The eligibility criteria for the older person's cash transfer, I know yesterday there are people who participated in one of the breakaway sessions, and one of the speakers mentioned the issue of the older person's cash transfer in Kenya, and the aspect of universality of the same. So we have, for the older person, you must be a Kenyan citizen, of course, identified by the national ID, and you must be 70 years and above for you to participate in the program. You must also have a caregiver who has also a valid Kenyan national ID. The reason why we introduce caregivers is because over time, these people grow weak, and they want somebody to assist them to go and pick the stipend on their behalf. So if you define a caregiver in the system early enough, then they'll be able to support that particular older person in future whenever they cannot be able to reach the pay points and so on and so forth. But this particular program here, we do a pension test on the same. So we check, pension check. So all those people who have previously worked for government and they're earning pension are not eligible to join the program. So that's the only check that we do. Otherwise, anybody else is eligible to join the program. Of course, there are so many questions of we have wealthy business people who can still join the program and so on and so forth. So areas of inclusion, as we were being taken through yesterday. So you will find those cases here of a few Kenyans who want to join the. So in Kenya, there is this feeling about this program that the government is giving back to Kenyans, senior citizens, because of their contribution, immense contribution into the development of the country. So everybody is entitled. I should be benefiting. So there's that feeling. So in fact, some join the program not necessarily because they really need the cash, but because it's a recognition aspect. The government is recognizing me as a senior citizen. So that card that I'm given is a prestige. It's prestigious to some of them. So you'll still find people who still have large tracts of land, businesses, and so in this program. And those are some of the errors that we are living with. It's because of the policy, again, the government policy. But before the 70 years and above program, it used to be poverty tested. So it used to be 65 years and above, and we used to apply the process of targeting. So it was poverty targeted. But come 2017, 2018 financial year, the presidential declaration said that anybody with 70 years qualifies to join the program, and that's where we are. We have the eligibility criteria for orphans and vulnerable children cash transfer. So here we apply the poverty test. So here the household must have somebody who is an orphan or defined as an orphan and vulnerable child who is a permanent member. The household can either have somebody who is chronically ill, who is a caregiver. In the case of TB, HIV and AIDS, those are the chronically ill conditions. Household should not be benefiting from any other social assistance program. So we always check for double dipping, so that you also don't get HSNP, you're getting OPCT and also getting OVC and so on and so forth. Again, we also check that households has resided in one particular location for more than 1 year. This is to avoid issues of destabilizing the numbers in terms of their location. So when we are moving out to do targeting, we have what is called a targeting plan. So a targeting plan has numbers. Numbers have been agreed upon through consultations with various stakeholders. So we discourage members moving from one location to another whenever you are doing targeting, so that we can at least maintain numbers per quarters as per the targeting plan. So that's why we say you must be a resident of a location for a period of about 1 year. Then we have the criteria for person with severe disability cash transfer. You must be extremely poor household, and that particular household must have at least one person who lives with, who has a severe disability. That is person who needs 24-hour care and protection. That is how we define severe disability. 24-hour care, somebody who needs 24-hour care and protection. Of course, you should not be benefiting from any other cash transfer program given by the government. You must be a Kenyan citizen, of course, and you must have resided again in your location for a period of about 1 year or 12 months. So that is as far as the criteria is concerned. And then we have stages in terms of targeting exercise. This is just high level. There are nitty-gritties into this, but these are just high level. So for us to identify beneficiaries of the program, or potential beneficiaries for that matter, we do two processes. We do household listing, and we also do household registration. So traditionally, we have been doing it as a program, but of late, we have what is called the Enhanced Single Registry. So Enhanced Single Registry has already done household listing in 23 counties nationally. And they have used both census and mass listing and registration. So they have done household listing and household registration in 23 counties. So they are yet to do in 24 counties to make it 47 counties. But as a program, previously, we used to do household listing as a program. So Inu Jami used to go to the ground and identify beneficiaries. So household listing is done in a community meeting. We normally call them barazas. I don't know how you call them in the Gambia, where you call communities from a certain village or several villages, you invite them in a place, and then you apply a tool called the listing tool, which is a digital tool. So you go with a tablet and then you list all of them. You say, we want to list people for City of VC program, and this is the criteria. And then everybody presents themselves. Whoever presents themselves, you just list them. And then after listing, you do now household registrations. Now household registration is now moving from door to door, household to household. Now you administer another tool. We'll call it harmonized targeting tool. So within the social protection environment in Kenya, we have what stakeholders have reviewed and approved, a tool to identify potential beneficiaries for social assistance or social protection interventions. And that tool is called the HTT, the Harmonized Targeting Tool. Of course, derived from the Harmonized Targeting methodology. I can't remember the name of the presenter who talked about the issues of PMT, issues of means testing, community-based validation, and so on and so forth. So that particular methodology is what we also have developed in Kenya, and that is what guides any other identification of potential beneficiaries for social protection intervention. So we apply that tool at household registration, and of course now that information is relayed again electronically from the county and sub-counties to national servers, where we now run what is called the poverty ranking. So we run the PMT calculations and we do poverty ranking. After poverty ranking, we take that particular ranking back to the community for what is called community-based validation. Where now the community will say that person is ranked correctly, or this is more poorer than this, and so on and so forth. We take that, and then that's now when you do the enrollment. But now that particular enrollment is based on the numbers. So if the government has, for example, in this financial year, the government has given us additional numbers, 500,000. And I think those of us the Gambians who attended the conference, we remember the pledge the president gave of scaling up the program by 1.5 million So to make it 2.5 million by 2025. So already this year, we have been given the go-ahead to bring on board 500,000 additional households into the program. So those 500,000 are actually divided by quarters, and every county, every sub-county is given their numbers based on poverty indexes and so on and so forth. So I have talked about the expansion plan, community sensitization, there's the household listing, and of course household registration, and of course finally the enrollment. So the enrollment aspect is now where you get the potential beneficiaries who have gone through all this identification process, and now you onboard them. You give the details to the banks go and open bank accounts for the beneficiaries. That is the enrollment process that we are talking about. Of course, within this process, there are several activities that happen. There is the development of the expansion plan. This one is done at the national level. There is a stakeholder sensitization, also both at national and county and regional levels. There is the recruitment of the locational targeting committees. These are people who are community members who form committees at the locational level. I don't know which is the... In Kenya, the smallest administrative unit is called a location. So there are members who are identified at the location level. So a location is made up of several villages. They come together and form a location. So members, community members identified in those regions, they form a committee to oversee the targeting and identification processes for the program. And then, of course, after that, there is the recruitment and training of enumerators. So much of this work is done by enumerators who are recruited and trained, and of course supervisors. And then there is the household identification and listing. So those are some of the processes that happen during the targeting process. Community-based validation, that one there's a community-based screening. This is now where you go and correct any data. So after listing, we normally send this data to the National Registration Bureau or the Integrated Population Registration Services, the custodians of all the registration data in the country. So you tell them, check, we have listed this person here. His ID is this and his names are this. Tell us whether indeed that is a legitimate Kenyan for the 10%. So we send this data is that you cannot be enrolled into the program unless you have been positively identified by the National Registration Bureau. Then we have the registration aspect, the community-based validation aspect, and finally the enrollment aspect. I had mentioned this earlier. We have a mobile application that we normally use. So we have an application embedded on the mother system, the MIS, that helps us in terms of the identification process. So we don't do manual paperwork. So we do digital data collection. Of course, there's the element of the enrollment. This is now where we share the data with the banks. Then the banks are able to onboard beneficiaries. So there's the element of the account opening, the element of account submission, and of course, an account verification. So at the national level, once we have now the file of potential beneficiaries, and we have agreed that these are people who are going to join the payment, who have joined the program and are ready to be paid, we share the list with the banks. So we have 6 contracted payment service providers. They are commercial banks, contracted by the ministry to deliver cash. So we give this file to the banks, and they are able now to mobilize the beneficiaries and open bank accounts for them. And those accounts are submitted. There are standards for submitting the accounts, so they must meet what we call the KYC, Know Your Customer standards. So they are submitted to our servers, and then we verify that indeed these accounts are true and they are correct. Then we onboard that beneficiary. So that beneficiary from there is ready to join the payroll from there. The issue of recertification, this one is, we have a module for recertification, but we have never had an opportunity of doing actual recertification to our beneficiaries, because one, I think it's a costly exercise, but two, I think the program has been growing very fast in terms of the transition. So we have not had an opportunity where we can actually carry out recertification, because every time we are either bringing on board additional beneficiaries, we are transiting from this payment model to this payment model. So we've never had ample time in terms of conducting a recertification. So, but we still have a recertification module, and we are looking forward to doing this maybe in a phased manner. But importantly, we have the enhanced single registry in place now, which can also support us in terms of doing the recertification. So we might not even need to go to the field to collect data. We can just run data, the current data for Inu Jami against the enhanced single registry, and we're able to get recertification data or status from that particular process. Then we have the payments aspect. We have moved from manual to electronic payment over the years. So in 2004, when the programs were being piloted, we used to pay through district treasuries. So money would be sent to officers manning sub-counties or districts for that matter in their bank accounts. So they'll go and cash it out. Then they put it in their bags. They hire a police officer and a land cruiser. They go to Marsabit and any other county for that matter and deliver cash. It used to be very tedious. Of course, there were elements of error, fraud, and corruption within those processes. It was also risky. Some of the officers used to be mugged because the thugs would know when the monies are being disbursed, and so on and so forth. So it was tedious. But we moved to the National Postal Corporation of Kenya. So the Postal Corporation in Kenya has branches in almost all districts. And therefore, the government contracted the Postal Services Corporation of Kenya to disburse the funds. It was also manual because we used to print payrolls, and then in 3 copies, and then you move 2 copies to the Postal Corporation. Then they send the payrolls by courier services to the branches at the district level. And there were a lot of errors, there were a lot of problems. Beneficiaries did not authenticate well. They were used to do fingerprints. So there were some crooked guys who would put fingerprints on behalf of the beneficiaries and go away with the money. So it was a bit of a problem there. So again, in 2016, we contracted 2 commercial banks. Now a bit of electronic element was introduced here, because they opened bank accounts for beneficiaries, printed electronic payment cards, and now we started what we normally call the 2-factor authentication. The other 2 processes were manual. We now had some form of authentication where you have a card, you have your national ID, then you present yourself to the agent, you are given your cash, and then the reconciliation aspect, the bank would send the reconciliation reports to the ministry's system, MIS, for reconciliation purposes. But now moving to around 2017, 2018, there was an urge to even improve this further, and we introduced what we now call the choice model of payment. So in terms of the choice model allows the beneficiaries to first make a choice of the payment service provider that they want, maybe that is nearest to where they are, and so on and so forth. But also importantly, it gives the beneficiary that window to be able to collect funds within 6 months without being pushed. So you can stay without being asked. So the other model we used to recall money. If you don't, for example, collect in 21 days, 3 weeks, we used to recall money back to the ministry's account. But in this new model, called the choice model, we allow beneficiaries actually the money can stay up to 12 months actually. But on the 12th month, we now claw back. If there's no activity in the bank, we now claw back the funds to the ministry's account. So this one gives the beneficiary a bit of time to also manage their accounts and their resources. It is 2-factor authentication. So the primary mode of authentication on this particular model is biometrics. So all the payments that are done by all the banks usually use the primary mode of authentication is biometrics. Of course, upon customer request, we can also issue PINs. The banks can also issue PINs, and beneficiaries can also move to ATM machines to be able to collect their funds. They can also move over the counter where they can be identified by the banks and they're given their stipend. So these cards that we print for beneficiaries, they are actually EMV, Euro Money, Visa, and MasterCard compliant. So beneficiaries can also withdraw across other banks, not necessarily where they have opened bank account. So there's the element of the interoperability between the banks, although it's not fully realized, but there's that aspect of interoperability. In future, we also want to expand this even more and also look at how we can also bring in the mobile money solution into the payment. Because you realize that within some terrains within the country, there are areas where banks are not present at all. Even their agents are not present, but mobile money service providers are present. So we want to open this up in future to even include mobile money transfer. In terms of the payment delivery mechanism, we have issues to do with the liquidity management. So we were looking, when we were contracting these service providers, we looked at how liquid the service providers are, how the distance to pay points, how near or far is it from where the beneficiaries are. Of course, issues of competition among PSPs, and the issue of the beneficiary choice was also a factor in terms of designing the model for the delivery of cash. So within this account-based model, called choice model, there are some salient elements, and one of it is there is a beneficiary choice, as I said. There are unique account features like free withdrawals, free balance inquiries, and so on and so forth. There is the issue of access to services, the use of biometric standards. There is the element of the proof of life. Proof of life is, I don't know how advanced your births and deaths registry is, but in my country, the births and deaths registry is not digital. But they're in the process of digitizing it, but it's not digital. It gives us, it's one of the greatest challenges for this program, actually. Because I cannot tell you from where I stand how many of my beneficiaries have passed on. Because I need to rely with the district registrar of births and deaths. And the district registrar of births and deaths relies on the chiefs. I don't know whether you guys have chiefs at the village level, at the district level. So for us, chiefs are at location level and sub-location, chief and assistant chief. So whenever there is a reported case of death, so the chief issues something called the burial permit. Okay, burial permit. The authority to bury somebody is issued by the chief. Of course, in some Islamic regions like northeastern in Kenya, chiefs don't usually. They just usually give them after the burial took place because of the culture of the religion. But basically, they are the ones who are mandated to issue burial permits. Now, after they have issued burial permits, they inform or update the office of the registrar of births and deaths. Then the office of registrar of births and deaths now books that particular case. Now, before it gets to Nairobi, where the headquarters of the births and deaths are, it's a long period of time. By that time, maybe I've run 2 or 3 payment cycles, and the person was declared dead. So you can see there's an element of the loss of funds. Let me put them loss of funds or misuse of funds, because why are you sending money to an account whose beneficiary is a long time dead? So that is a big challenge for us in terms of this program. But we are happy because the civil registrar, the one in charge of the births and deaths, is actually now in the process of digitizing the registry, so that we will now be just needed to, through an API integration, system to system, we'll now be able to do verification quickly. So we'll no longer rely on the county and sub-county teams in terms of informing us who is deceased and not deceased. So proof of life becomes a very integral aspect in terms of the disbursements, because we want to know who is this person still there? So just to address that particular problem, we told the banks that within 1 year, do proof of life for us. Make sure that the beneficiaries themselves, the primary recipient, comes to the bank to do biometric. Because now when they do biometric, at least you know they are there. At least twice in a year. The other times they could go and get cash from agents and wherever, and they can use their caregivers. But at least twice in a year, let that person do a biometric capture, a transaction, biometric transaction. So that's how we have been doing the proof of life using the bank account, using the payment service providers, that is the banks. Of course, there's the element of real-time monitoring in terms of the disbursement and the zoning of beneficiaries to incentivize the PSPs. So you see, when you are doing contracting these banks, every bank would want to participate in this particular payments, this particular service, because of the movement in terms of the amount of money that is involved. And banks want money to go through their accounts. So they will tell you, no, I will be able to do this, but ideally, maybe you realize that they don't even have presence in some areas, but they have told you that. So we designed an aspect of zoning. So we took the country, split it into 3. We say zone 1, zone 2, or zone A, zone B, zone C. And in those zones, we actually, I'll be showing you the zones. We actually identified the agents every bank has in those particular zones. And then in very far-flung areas, we told the bank, hey, look, we are willing to pay you more money to deliver cash to these beneficiaries. So the banks say, really? Yes, we will pay you for example, a transaction 150 Kenya shillings against other regions, say 100 shillings. Maybe in Nairobi, which is the city, we are paying a transaction at 100 Kenya shillings. But we are willing to pay a remote area transaction at 150, for example, so that the banks are willing to, send agents to those particular areas so that we can be able to deliver the cash. So that is the element of zoning of beneficiaries to incentivize the banks. So of course, the choice model has the element of saving, because it has what we call the store of value. The banks, the accounts, they have no ledger fees is charged, free balance inquiry, as like I said. And every year, we give our beneficiaries an opportunity to choose any other bank that they might want. So maybe they were mistreated in this bank, they can always every year choose to move to another bank. So that one is already there. So we call it annual switching of preferred payment service provider. That one is there. And of course, the issue of the interoperability, you can withdraw from any bank that is contracted. You don't have to really withdraw. So if you find yourself in a region where there is this bank and your card belongs to another bank, I said earlier it is EMV compliant, it is Visa, Europay, and MasterCard. You can be able to withdraw from any other bank. So there is the element of interoperability. There is also the element of biannual switching. There is also free balance inquiry, and you can be able to retain money within your account, that is savings. Free ledger fee are also there. So this zoning I was telling you about, we have over 2,700 locations in our country, but after 2019 census, I think they have grown to 3,400 locations. We have mapped them into 3 zones based on the distance from existing service providers, and the commissions paid to the bank are also banded. We call them bands. So if Zone A has its own band, Zone B is band, and Zone C has its own band. So in terms of bands, so you can see, for example, in zone A, a transaction of Kenya shillings 500 to 400 shillings attracts a commission of about 3.67 USD. That's like 29 Kenya shillings. That is 3.67 to 29.41 USD. That is close to 110 Kenya shillings. The same transaction in zone B is 125 Kenya shillings. The same transaction in zone C is 130 Kenya shillings. And they go that based on the amount of money and the amount of transfer. So if you are moving, for example, if you look at number 7 there, if you are paying a beneficiary household between 24,000 to 30,000 Kenya shillings, then in zone A you will be charged 120 as commission, 132 in zone B, and 154 in zone C. So you can see the amount go increasing based on the value of transfer and also the distance or the zone. So that's what we call now the band. So that at least the bank that does more work in terms of delivery of cash. For example, there's a location in Kenya in a county called Marsabit, one of the northern counties, which is around 600 kilometers from the county headquarters. There's a location that's 600 kilometers from county headquarters, one location. So there's one bank that is present in that particular location. Of course, you need to pay them better commission for the investment that they have done in terms of setting up agency in those in that location. So, as I said earlier, we do monthly payments. We used to do by monthly payment, but now we do monthly payments. There's two programs here you are seeing called NICHE, that is NICHE, we call it NICHE, that is in full nutrition improvement through cash and health education, and there's the other one called EIP, that is economic inclusion program. Those ones, we will talk about them later, but these are complementary programs. They use our system, the cash transfer for Inu Jami, to disburse their money. So what we are also doing is that we want to enhance the system so that any other disbursements the government wants to make in future, instead of going to come up with a system of disbursement, they use the Inu Jami system for disbursement. So it's like specialization. So the ESR will specialize in terms of identification of potential beneficiaries. And now CCTP will specialize in terms of disbursements for Inu Jami, for any other cash transfer interventions. Like I will tell you, maybe there was a program called the Universal Child Benefit Program. We also used this particular system to disburse. So that is historically how the payroll has grown in terms of the amounts and the number of beneficiaries. So in 2004, 2005, we had only 500 beneficiaries during the pilot of the program. But over the years, the number of beneficiaries have grown due to scale-up activities up to the recent one, 2022-2023 financial year, where we have on the payroll around 1.1 or 1.072 million on the payroll. But after this financial year, we'll have more because we are bringing on board 500,000. And we are replacing the lost ones who have died due to attrition. So we are looking at a payroll of about 1.7 million households in this particular, by the end of this particular financial year. In terms of amounts, again, the amounts have grown. So over the years, I think since the inception of the program, we have disbursed close to 1.51 million USD. That is close to 217 billion Kenya shillings over the years. So that's what we have been able to disburse. And you can see the growth in terms of the financial year since 2004-2005 financial year. So we have 6 payment service providers, but all of them are commercial banks that do support us in terms of the delivery of cash. They have their agents and branch networks. So you can see for example, the first one is Cooperative Bank. It has 157 branches with over 16,139 agents across the country, and so on and so forth, up to the last bank, the National Bank of Kenya. So in total, we have 944 branches that do disburse our Inu Jami cash, with over 59,755 agents spread across the country. That is the same as the previous slide. So we have, how do they access the funds? We have the agency by banking. We also have what is called the over-the-counter withdrawals. We have cash in transit. In very remote areas, the banks do cash in transit. They put money in their vehicles, armored vehicles, and so on and so forth, and of course security, and they push money to those far-flung areas. We also have communities that have the cultures of the Fulani of the Gambia. We call them the Maasai, and we have the Rendile, the Gabra, who live in eastern Kenya. So some of them moved to look for pasture for their livestock, and they can go many kilometers. So when they move, you have to move with them whenever the cash is there and take money there. So we have cash in transit as well. Of course, we have ATM withdrawals in some instances, and also we have mobile money transfers. So every account that is opened for the beneficiary and recipient has mobile money capability, because all banks provide mobile wallets. So you can be able, again, upon request, you can be able to get mobile money transfers using that. I'm not sure whether I need to be advised in terms of time, whether I'm behind or ahead of time, but so that I can. Okay, thank you. So we also have the grievance and case management, so that actually tracks all the grievances, complaints, and updates related to our beneficiaries. And we have tools that do that. We have forms, and these forms are both digital and physical. And the issues of grievance, complaints, and updates are tracked from the sub-county and location level. We have officers manning location and sub-counties, so they track this and they put in the system. So the grievance and case management module is decentralized, meaning officers can be able to capture cases from the comfort of the sub-county and location wherever they are, and they are able to log that case and they escalate it to the relevant office, either county or national office. Same case for complaints and updates as well. So they go through the escalation process. There is the SLA, what we call service level agreement, for the cases to be resolved within a certain stipulated time frame, and we are able to capture those cases in the system and refer them to the relevant offices, either the bank, either our service providers, or our own officers at the county and sub-county, as well as national level. So the members of the public can report issues of complaints and grievances as well as updates by visiting our sub-county officers in person, or through what we call the beneficiary welfare committees. So we have another structure we developed because of issues of these complaints and grievances. So beneficiaries have formed committees by themselves. I'm a recipient of Inu Jami, and we are 10 of us, or we are 20 of us in a small village, or we are 50. We come together. We are recipients. We come together. We have common interest. We are beneficiaries of a cash transfer for the government. We form an association or a group. Now, this particular group is the one that now will track issues of complaints, issues of updates, and inform the relevant office, our office now. We developed this structure because, one, we realized that beneficiaries were not aware of the program on how it is being implemented. So you would just go to a village and you see beneficiaries are more vulnerable, and that one gave opportunity to conmen, let me call them conmen, or trickster, people who come and tell beneficiaries, I'm the one who put you in the program, and I can say you be removed, give me 500 shillings and so on and so forth. So we realized these things were happening and they were rampant. So we wanted to empower the beneficiaries themselves so that they can be able to man or to run their own affairs at that level. And that's why we came up with a beneficiary welfare committee. And in every location across the country, we have a beneficiary welfare committee. Of course, our sub-county coordinators and county coordinators are also used in terms of relaying some of these complaints and grievances. They are also sent through post to our offices, and of course, there is a toll-free line that we use to receive any complaints or grievance from the beneficiary or any other person or any other Kenyan. So we have a running toll-free line. We have a call center, actually, that we do address issues of the grievance and redress mechanism. Of course, the same process follows in terms of updates. Updates are changes within the household condition. So there is a new caregiver, for example. A household wants to introduce a new caregiver. There is a newborn child. There is an exit of member, or somebody has passed on. Those are called updates. So we usually do conduct updates, and they go through the same process of escalation to the national office. So once these updates are done, they are communicated also to the banks so that the bank can also update their system accordingly. I will not go into types of complaints because some of them are card-related, payment-related, identification-related, targeting-related, and so on and so forth. So every procedure, every process from identification, registration, enrollment, up to payment, we have different categories and typologies of complaints. So that one I really don't want to discuss so much, but I want us to also appreciate that we have chiefs and assistant chiefs who also assist in terms of implementation of this particular program. So they help us in terms of, especially whenever we have major undertakings. Like, for example, in a few weeks' time, maybe 2 or 3, we'll do mass account opening for the 500,000 that we have brought on board. So chiefs will do mobilization for us, will do the actual field plans for us, and so on and so forth. So they are very, very, very instrumental. So they also help in terms of reporting, in terms of abuse of our beneficiaries, for example, by their caregivers, because you realize there are some caregivers for older persons, for example, who abuse the older person or the beneficiaries. Even for person with severe disability, an OVC, for example, they help us to address all those issues and report to the relevant authority. Whenever you have major activities, chiefs and assistant chiefs will provide security for, like, when you are moving door to door in terms of identification of households. They will move with us and to provide that particular, but also to tell us whenever there are major changes within the structure of the community. Yeah, thank you so much. The Beneficiary Welfare Committee, this one I will not really talk about so much because I already have addressed the issue of the members of the beneficiaries themselves forming committees. But importantly, I think over the years we have been able to, as key milestones, we've been able to develop. One of the key milestones for this Inu Jami program was the development and decentralization of the Consolidated Cash Transfer Management Information System. That one was a major milestone, and already this one we have been able to achieve it, and we are using the system effectively to run the cash transfer. There is the element of the choice model. Again, this was a game changer, moving from the manual systems of disbursements to a more robust, a more friendly, and a more efficient payment model. Of course, the scaling up of the new additional beneficiaries as per the presidential declaration. We are bringing on board 500,000 additional beneficiaries this financial year. The change from the bi-monthly payment to monthly payment, again, is a major milestone because it has addressed issues of queuing, issues of predictability of payments, and so on. Now beneficiaries can be able to plan because they know money will still come. It's like a salary. So they can even go ahead and borrow from somebody, or even carry goods and products from shops, because they know on this date we are going to receive our payments, and so on and so forth. We have now, other than the grievance and redress mechanism, or grievance and case management mechanism or module, we have what is called enhanced grievance and case management module. Now this one, we are going to allow any other player within the sector, social protection sector, not necessarily Inu Jami, to be able to actually log in cases that actually affect Inu Jami. For example, we have like a program called HSNP that is in northeastern counties. If a HSNP implementing officer encounters an Inu Jami officer, they are able to log in a case. So there is already that module under development, so that we are able to bring on board, to make it easy for beneficiaries to report cases without having to move long distances. So getting served within wherever you are by any officer, as long as it's a social protection implementing officer. So that is called enhanced grievance and case management. Of course, there are challenges that we have encountered over time, issues of funding. There is a huge demand for people to join the programs, but minimal fiscal space or no fiscal space for that. Issues of operations cost, of course, we are not able to be funded, and that's why, for example, we have not done even a good impact assessment or evaluation for this program, or even recertification for that matter. Issues of errors associated with identification and registration processes, they are there. Errors of inclusion, exclusion, limited impact evaluation, lack of interoperability under the choice model of payment. So the banks are a bit slow in terms of implementing interoperability. So we wanted a situation where money would move, not necessarily through the normal FMIS system, but banks are able, once we run the payroll from National Treasury, or from our system, and the National Treasury disburses money, we wanted a situation where any financial institution in the country can be able to pay our beneficiaries. We have not yet gotten there. We are still grappling with that problem, so interoperability is not yet there for us. Of course, there are issues of politics around the cash transfers, a lot of politics around that. And then there are issues to do with biometric failure, issues of failed biometrics during disbursements. Emerging issues, the government of Kenya is very keen in terms of the digital economy, digitizing most of its services. Already over 5,000 government services are already available on a digital platform. We call it eCitizen. Is an online platform where all government, you can be able to access all government services, including but not limited to Inu Jami, for example. So we want to leverage on that, the move by government to digitize its services, and we want to also make it easy for our beneficiaries to also utilize digital solutions. For example, fintechs, companies who provide money, mobile money solutions, we're able to do that. But importantly, I don't know, and I had somebody today ask me, how is the hustler doing? As my president is popularly known across hustler. So he came up with a hustler fund. Hustler fund, when he took over office, there's a hustler fund where Kenyans can be able to borrow from government, small amounts, and they're able to pay back, they borrow more. So we are saying we can also be able to leverage on such platforms to be able to inform our beneficiaries that they can actually participate in some of these financial services that are being offered across by a financial service provider. And that is the element of the financial inclusivity of our beneficiaries into the mainstream financial markets. Having said that, I think I want to invite my boss to come and tell us a few things about other programs that we implement in a nutshell, and then we can call it a day. Karibu, madam.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope you have got our Inu Jami, how it goes and what happens in Inu Jami. So mine is just 1 minute. I don't want to go so much into a lot of things. We just felt that it is good to say that from the National Social Protection Secretariat, there are other programs that we also coordinate, related to Inu Jami, because even yesterday the presentations, you heard as it was being said, and we need to think about it. Is cash enough? What else can you do on top of the cash? So those are the programs I just wanted to mention, and there are 4 of them. There are 5. One has been mentioned a lot. The social registry for Kenya, that is called the Enhanced Single Registry. So the Enhanced Single Registry, as Mr. Njoroge had said, initially the registry was only taking care of the data for Inu Jami beneficiaries. Then now we are improving it so that in future, even when we want the 500 per year the president is talking of, we don't go to Target. Target, yesterday you heard, it's too expensive. So we just get the beneficiaries and put them into the programs. So as he had said, we have collected data in 23 counties. We have 24 more to go. And we were hoping that by December 2023 up to March, we shall have done the 24 remaining, so that we have a good social registry for our social protection programs. I know there are quite a number of countries in Africa coming to learn on it. Recently we had Nigeria, Somali, Rwanda, Zambia coming to learn on ESR. So it is something that as a continent we can look into, and from other areas also, and learn a lot on it. So that is one of the programs we have related to Inu Jami. The second program, I like saying that human beings, we can't be static all the times. Is that so? We must move and we must try new areas. So there is the Universal Child Benefit Pilot. We are also undertaking. I don't know how many countries in Africa or in the world are having Universal Child Benefit. South Africa is one of them. I know there are countries in the world that have it. So for us, we were just trying to pilot. And as we speak, impact assessment is going on. So we piloted in 3 counties. And we were giving them 800 Kenyan shillings per child. OVC that you are being talked to about is per household. But this one is now per child, 0 to 3 years. And when we did registration, we worked closely with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. We found out that according to the census, which was the 2019, 0 to 3 years in the 3 sub-counties were around 8,333. So we took 8,300. And of course, upon registration, a mother would only have 1, 2, and at maximum 3 children if they are twins. So those are things we think of. And I want to believe a lot is going to be learned from there. Like in our manual, we said the money be given to a female caregiver. And already the men were up in arms. You think even us, we are not taking care of children. So those are lessons such that if we are to upscale it, we'll see how do you go about such things. And I want to believe that in every country in the world, UCB cannot be started at a go, because half of the population is children. Is that so? So you can't start it wholesome. How do you start it? Sub-locations, counties, slowly, until after some years you reach the maximum of 18 years. So that is one program we are piloting, and a lot of impact assessment is going on. We want to see how it goes. The difference with OVC is that there is nutrition improvement, which is being undertaken by the Ministry of Health. We work together. Then the disability aspect was also taken care of. And the third, we were also looking at child protection issues. When, for those families, child protection, how is it? Abuse, what? So all that is being taken care of, so that's a good one. Related to that, there is the nutrition improvement through cash and health education niche. So this one is being supported by World Bank. Also, we have it in 5 counties. Joroge mentioned it. So this one, health education, the beneficiaries are pregnant mothers, lactating mothers, and children up to 2 years. Those are the beneficiaries. So you give them 500 shillings on top of the Inu Jami money. So some are Inu Jami beneficiaries given priority, and some are just outside. So what else do you do? So that is a cash plus. The program will run up to March 2025. Then we'll see how can it be sustained. So that is also on social protection. Then we have economic inclusion program. Economic inclusion, this is also to the beneficiaries of Inu Jami and outside. So under this one, the beneficiaries, they form groups. And the reason is that once you get the money, the way we have said 2,000, is it enough? Can it sustain you? What else can you do? So in economic inclusion, they are given money, 30,000 Kenyan shillings in 2 tranches. So they are supposed to do business with this money. So we have mentors, people who mentor them on the ground and teach them. And it's also a way of uplifting the community, the women and the men. What other businesses do you do that uplifts you? So the 30,000 mentors are there every day checking what do you do, or you ate the money. So you must be guided on how to use the money. And a good part of it is graduation, which is also emphasized. You can't just be given throughout. At what point do you graduate and leave the others to get into the program? So that we also help the others. So those are there. And lastly, let me say that we also do training. We have a social protection training curriculum. I know some of the colleagues from the National Social Protection Secretariat in Ghana, they've come. In Gambia, they've come. We met them. As we speak, we have a group from Ghana doing the training. So it is good for us to learn from all areas. What do you do here? Well, how can we improve? Because just the way we said, social protection is a very fast-moving sector. Before you know it, there is COVID. Things have changed. Before you know it, drought, diseases. What else? So even the training is happening, and people do come for it. So those are the ones I wanted to add, so that as we are doing social protection, we know which areas we learn from each other, which areas we help each other, and that is it. Thank you. Asanteni.
Thank you so much. Please let us give them another round of applause. The Kenyan model now, we are all a witness to it. This presentation is not a brief one. It is a presentation for us to have a complete idea of how the Inu Jami program is and what other programs exist in Kenya. So on that note, we want to thank them so much. We're working towards 12:30 for the closing ceremony to start. So I want to open the floor for a few questions so that we will allow our colleague from Ghana also to have time to present. Before I allow them to take their seat, we can give them a few questions if we have. Okay. I say few. You have started again. Yesterday I said few. You gave me.
Just say 2 or 3.
Okay, I take 3. Please, I take 3. Okay, ladies first. I'll take 2 ladies and 1 man. Okay, ladies are here, so no man should raise hand here. Yes. So men down there. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Sorry for that. Can someone help me with the mic?
Thank you very much. We've been watching you since yesterday to see if you will be more gender sensitive. But I can see that you've been very careful. It's not a threat. It's just an advice, you know. Thank you very much. And I want to thank our Kenyan brother and sister for that very comprehensive presentation. And also, I really admire the Inu Jami, the Kenyan Inu Jami program. And when you were presenting, I was itching to ask this question because it was always scarce, until my sister came on board, and then all my questions were answered. And that is the issue of whether 500 Kenyan shilling or 2,000 Kenyan shilling is enough, you know, to sustain somebody. And then you came in to talk about the other economic empowerment programs. And I was also thinking about, but at what point should someone graduate from this program? Because, you know, you cannot be receiving, it's not even sustainable. And more other people are waiting to be supported, so we don't have enough. So is it possible for someone to graduate at some point? Because I have seen in Rwanda a beneficiary who graduated himself. He did not even wait for the program to graduate him. But because of the livelihood empowerment program, he was able to graduate himself, and that is in the area of agriculture. And since I am in agriculture, I just wanted to find out if your economic empowerment programs also include other livelihood empowerment programs where somebody will be supported, maybe if the person has land or is into agriculture, you want to support the person to improve production and productivity. And in no time, the person will be out of poverty and graduate from the program. That's what I wanted to find out. Or whether it is only in business, because, you know, business is too, agriculture is also business. I have almost finished, so. But then that's my question. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yes, the other lady is behind.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Binta Jata from the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Aid Coordination. I have one question for the guy that just finished the presentation. During your presentation, you mentioned that your beneficiaries, the beneficiaries for the cash transfers receive 13 US dollars per month, if I'm not mistaken. This amount, to me, it's quite low. So I was thinking, do you have any other mechanism put in place or plans to increase the number of beneficiaries in order to reduce the the percentage of poor population, or you intend to increase the amount of money received by the beneficiaries? Because this $13, if you have to exchange it to the Gambian currency, it cannot even provide you a bag of rice. So I don't know whether you have any other plans put in place to, to have the amount increased. Thank you.
I wanted to give it to Lani because this hand was very high up. So I will prioritize you in our next question. Sorry, give it to Lani. Which Lani? Lani, raise your hand so that they see you. Oh, fine.
Jao, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. I also want to thank the presenters for the in-depth presentation. I just have two questions that I want to ask. Because I know the issue of social protection is an issue of commitment. So I want to find out, as per the government commitment, when it comes to their national budget, how many percentage of the national budget is allocated to this program? Secondly, it is also important that we want to see how the private sector is being involved in this process. If there is any, I want to know how do they involve the private sector. If there is none, how are they intending to involve the private sector in strengthening this program? Thank you.
Should I give? Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you to the presenters. My name is Basiruba from the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia. Mr. Paul, you've mentioned one of the criteria for the programs was the provision of identification documents, national documents basically. And my question is about those people or those vulnerable communities that may be stateless, one, or those communities that may not have proper identification documents. I'm asking this because in the Gambia, in the implementation of the, is it NAFA program, we had some issues about identity. So I wanted to hear your opinion how we can go about so that no one is actually left behind. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to respond in two areas, or some even three, and Joroge will add more. On the economic inclusion program, the way I'd said it, we have mentors and supervisors for these people who are constantly on the ground. They are trying to check. And agriculture is one of the areas. You can be given this money, you buy fertilizers, you farm, so that you improve. So it is literally in all areas, not just business of selling things. How do you improve yourself? So the graduation, I know there are some who have self-graduated themselves, seeing that now it is okay with me, I can come out. But there are some who are also still there, and it is being encouraged. The supervisors talking to them, such that when they see that you are uplifted, you can also come out. And if there are problems hindering you from really moving, they also intervene. Where is the problem? Why are you not really improving yourself? So that is what we are doing, and we are really hoping that once the timing will be over, the program is supported by World Bank. will then look at sustainability. Our Department for Social Development registers communities. That is why the program is under their docket, because community groups in the villages are used a lot. So we are checking on that. That is number one. I hope you are okay. The other area, the private sector. Maybe we didn't mention, but we work a lot with the private sector. UNICEF, like UCB, it's UNICEF running it. The Niche program, nutrition improvement, is a World Bank project, but being delivered under UNICEF. The UNICEF has taken that aspect. Then World Food Program is almost in all our projects. Social enhancing registry, this one for economic inclusion, the universal child benefit, and even the training which they've now handed over. Them and UNICEF, we worked a lot with them. But it is not only them. ILO is there. Recently, we even launched the informal sector social protection. How do we want to reach those in the informal sector with social protection programs? So we are working with them under that. And many more. Let me say, those are now the UN bodies. We now have the CSOs that we work a lot with. So it is a multi-sectoral. But Inu Jami, all that money, government took it over, pays all those people. That is they handed it over a long time. So that is the government. So the other people we are starting to work with a lot, and not even starting, in the Niche program and economic inclusion, in areas such as Marsabit, we discovered that so many people were not having national IDs. So we are working with the Department of Registration for Births and Deaths to issue these people with national IDs so that they can be in the program. The same happened in the UCB. We worked with the department. When we started, we realized that so many children were not having birth certificates, and yet it was a requirement. We registered some of them with birth notification. So under the program, we have made sure that all of them have now got their birth certificates. So those are areas we take cognizant and learn. In areas like UCB, another area we realize there is child mothers. Do we have child mothers in Gambia? We have child mothers under 18, and you have a child and you don't have a national ID. So how are you supposed to be paid? Because it was through mobile banking, mobile cash transfer. And for mobile cash transfer, you must have ID. So we ended up, the mother to this child, we use your ID to register your daughter and your daughter's, can I call it your daughter's child or grandchild? So those are things that happen, and there are lessons for us. How do you move if you are to upscale it for child mothers? Or will you say we don't want child mothers? No, we must have them. So thank you. And just lastly, we have commenced a lot of work, even when you leave the people who don't have IDs, even with the refugees. There are now programs where we are working together. How do we bring them on board? Because even like any other country, we have a lot of refugees. So the UNHCR have come on board so that we see how do we work with them, even because they are here with us for a long time. How do we include them in our social protection programs despite not having the ID? So all that work is in progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, and thank you for the Good questions. I think there was an issue of, Madam has tackled the issue of the identification document, and I think for the program, Inu Jami, it is categorical that you must be having a national ID. For those people who don't, for one reason or the other, don't have national IDs, we encourage them to nominate a caregiver. A caregiver is a person who represents you in the program, and that person must also have an ID. So that is acceptable. But also closely working with the Civil Registration Bureau to make sure that people who don't have national IDs are also issued with national IDs. It's also within the objective of the government for everybody to be identified through the National Registration Bureau. So we minimize those errors of exclusion because of documentations. There's the issue of the percentage in terms of the national budget, what has been allocated to the cash transfer. I think if you look at the budget for the financial year 2022-2023, we are looking at 1.2% of the national budget allocated to the cash transfers for the Inu Jami. Our national budget runs to close to 4 trillion Kenya shillings. So if you look at that, because our national allocation for the cash transfers is around 38 billion Kenya shillings, so it's around 1.2% allocation. In terms of the transfer value, yes, 2,000 shillings a bit low in terms of the if you look at the current exchange rates and the economic conditions, but there's always that question of, do we add the transfer value or do we extend the coverage to more beneficiaries? And I think what the country has focused on currently is to extend the coverage to more recipients, but the issues of the review of the transfer value are also with us. And there's a recent study that was done, and we looked at the consumption basket, for example, for a household, and it was coming to around 7,000 Kenya shillings, 7,800 Kenya shillings. So we are cognizant of that fact that 2,000 per month is on the lower side, but communities are happy to have many people included in the programs as opposed to a few people and the transfer value raised. So I think the other issues have been addressed. Thank you so much for your questions. Asanteni sana.
Please let us give them a bigger round of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again. We have learned from, yeah, you can sit here. Thank you. So instead of saying thank you, we will say Allah Baraka or Jerejef. Allah Baraka. Yes. Thank you. Okay. This was a great presentation, and we really we are motivated to have you once more anytime we have the opportunity. And for the social protection course, thanks to our able coordinator, he was able to facilitate, and not only one batch, it was 2 batches that went to, yeah. So a lot of us are coming, and then I hope many more trainings are done. Thank you so much for that. Our next presentation is the experience sharing from Ghana on the single window citizens engagement service, the equivalent of our grievance redress mechanism here in the Gambia. So I have the honor now to invite our friend, our guest. She has been here with us all along, Nadede Auntie, to come and deliver the presentation. Madam, you are welcome.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think I'm really elated to have this privilege to share our experiences on our single window citizens engagement service. And I bring you greetings from Ghana, from the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, from our Honorable Minister and Chief Director. And I'm also grateful to the Office of the President for this initiative and the entire team of the National Social Protection Secretariat. They've done a very great job from sending the invitations and putting things together. And I'm here today, so I would say I'm very grateful to you. And so I'll be giving a brief presentation. I know our time is fast spent, so I'll give an overview of social protection in Ghana, and then what the single window citizens engagement service is about, our channels of complaints, then our unified case management system, and some of our processes. And I'm going to share a few success stories with you. So Ghana's social protection before 2007 was dominated by traditional family and community arrangements and interventions by faith and welfare-based organizations, which I believe you have here. But research showed that this wasn't enough. And so in 2007, a national social protection strategy was then developed and gave birth to one of our flagship programs, the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty. This was later revised in 2012. And so the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection was created in 2013 to provide oversight in the delivery of social protection in Ghana. And a rationalization study was conducted in 2030 that made some recommendations to strengthen social protection in Ghana. And so it's recommended that social protection in Ghana must focus more on the extreme poor and vulnerable populations, and also identify a basket of social protection programs, which I'll be taking you through shortly. And then the need to streamline social protection sector and enhance coordination and have a well-based and defined national social protection floor. And our social protection floor covers the entire life cycle, which I believe you also have here in Ghana, in Gambia, sorry. So in our social protection policy, we define social protection as a range of actions carried out by the state and other parties in response to vulnerability and poverty, which seeks to guarantee relief from destitution for those sections of the population who, for reasons beyond their control, are unable to provide for themselves. And I've mentioned the social protection floors, which include access to basic essential health care for all, with particular attention to maternal health care, and the minimum income security to assess basic needs of life for children, which is a priority at the ministry, and then a minimum income security for people in the working age and for older persons. So we have this basket of social protection programs in Ghana. We have the Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, which is a cash transfer program for the poorest households in Ghana, and they are in all the 261 districts and have a coverage of about 1,555,677, and the program targets orphans and vulnerable children, the aged, without support, and persons with severe disabilities who cannot work, and also very poor pregnant women and lactating mothers with infants under 1 year. Then we have the National Health Insurance scheme, which I know you also have here. And under the scheme, we have the indigents category who are exempted from paying premiums. So all the beneficiaries are exempted from paying premiums, and they fall within the exempt category, that's the indigents. Then we also have the labor-intensive public works that is implemented by the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, and is to provide income earning opportunities to poor households. And so this is done by self-selection, and priority is given to LEAP households and people who are very poor. And so the job is created based on what the communities need. So for example, they dig earth dams, they do cashew plantain, coconut plantation, construct feeder roads and seedling production and others. Then we have the Ghana School Feeding Program, just as you also have here, which provides 1 hot meal for primary schools. And then we also have the Education Capitation Grants, that is to ensure that all Ghanaian children of school-going age, irrespective of their tribe and religion and political affiliations, have quality formal education and training at the basic level. And we also have one at the senior high level. And so during our earlier presentations and statements that have been made, we have all agreed that social protection is a right, and our 1992 Constitution of Ghana provides the basis for it under the directive principles of state policy. And you all agree with me that if social protection is a right, then it means that beneficiaries and citizens should have that right to be able to demand on the demand side. So they should have that right to be able to have the best of services. When things are not going right, they should be able to complain and ask why and be given the right services and quality services. And that is why grievance redress is a key feature when it comes to administration in social protection. And so Leadership and Transformation Curriculum 2021 defines complaints and appeal mechanism as a system that allows citizens to complain or provide feedback to the implementation of a given service, and allows implementers to respond to those complaints or feedback. And you agree with me also that complaints and an appeal mechanism is very, very important, and it increases the citizens' trust in the country and the implementing agencies. It also helps to solve operational issues and increases citizens' involvement and participation. And this also curbs corruption because there's that transparency and accountability. And so that brings us to the single window citizens engagement service, which I believe you all want to know about and what exactly we do. So the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, as part of efforts to strengthen the social protection system, established the single window citizens engagement service in 2017. And this has been supported by the World Bank. And so the mandate of SWES, for short, is to coordinate and streamline social protection related grievance redress to achieve efficiency and value for money, and serves as a single entry point for flagship programs which I've mentioned, the LEAP, the school feeding, the labor intensive public works, and the others. And then also, subsequently, the ministry realized that it had mandates over some other social issues. So the Single Window Citizens Engagement Service, also known as the Core Helpline of Hope Call Center, was expanded to receive complaints on other social issues within the mandate of the ministry. So we also receive cases on child and forced labor, human trafficking, domestic violence, gender-based violence, child maintenance, child custody, some legal issues, and the others. And then also in times of emergency, we also receive calls from people who need support. So for example, during the outbreak of the COVID, there was a lockdown in Ghana and people really fell into the cracks. So they called the center and we were able to provide support for them. So during national disasters, the Single Window Citizens Engagement Service is also used to provide support to citizens and beneficiaries. So the main objective of SWES is to improve transparency and accountability of the system by creating a unified complaints and grievance mechanism for social protection program. And so another objective is also to provide a single entry point for grievance redress of social protection programs. This, I mean, is that all the beneficiaries of the social protection programs are expected to channel grievances through the SWES system, and then we refer them to the appropriate agencies for redress. And it also serves as a single entry point for child and gender related complaints, and to also improve the quality of services that is being provided to citizens and beneficiaries. And finally, it also provides an independent complaint collection and monitoring mechanism to ensure that all the programs adhere to their rules and procedures. So SWES has two components. We have the helpline of Hope Call Center. You can see the picture of the call center there with the toll-free numbers 0800 800 800 or 0800 900 900, where we have call agents and case management officers there who speak about 9 languages. So we receive the calls in 9 languages so that everybody can have access to English and 8 other local languages. So that's the first one, the first component. And then the second component is the UCMS, the Unified Case Management System, which is web-based and a case management system that we use to receive calls in the cases, log in the cases, classification, referral, and resolution of cases. So when we receive the calls, it's this system that we use to log in the cases and also serves as a referral mechanism. So in the UCMS, classification of complaints is done under 4 levels. And the first one has to do with enquiries. So when call agents receive cases on enquiries, they are able to resolve it easily because we have frequently asked questions from the social protection programs, and they have trained our call agents and case management officers to be abreast with issues. So for basic questions, maybe when will the next leave payments be, or what do they do if they want to change a caregiver and all that. These are basic things that the case management officers should know on their fingertips, and they address it. And then the second classification is L2, which has to do with administrative complaints, and that one has to do with, for example, payment delays or data updates or caregiver changes. And for this one, we cannot do it at SWES, so we'll have to refer to the appropriate agencies, follow up with them, and ensure that they have resolved it for the beneficiaries or citizens. Then the third classification is there's the complex cases that has to do with fraud, corruption, embezzlement, and harassment. And when we receive such cases, we'll have to verify it before we classify it under the L3 and refer it also to the appropriate governmental agencies. And the last classification is the L4 that has to do with high level of calls that are directed at the ministry that sometimes have some media attention and has to be addressed. So these are the channels of complaints. We have the toll-free lines, we have our WhatsApp or SMS, we have our Facebook, our email address, the UCMS is there. And we have also developed a mobile app that makes it very easy for people to log in cases, but it's still at the testing stage. So at the decentralized level, you don't really need the laptop to be moving around it. They just have their mobile phones there that they can easily use. So very soon we will be launching it. So as I mentioned, basically the UCMS is an information system for managing the filing of complaints, and so we use it to create cases, resolve cases, and then we close the cases. Now there was a problem which led to the creation of the UCMS. we realized that there was lack of coordination and duplication of efforts among flagship programs in addressing the appeals and case redress mechanism, and we have to try our best to avoid duplication of efforts. There was also unavailability of consolidated case management reports for all social protection programs. So we realized that different programs were given their own reports, but with this UCMS, we are able to retrieve reports, and we have one report. I mean, they all have the same thing. And then the cost of maintenance of different case systems. So it's important that we have a centralized case management system to be able to save money. I know, of course, we want to increase the coverage, we want to increase grants and all that. So all those monies can be used for that. It won't be like someone is taking the other person's job, but let's try to do the teamwork and then refer to the agencies. Sorry, okay. Then they also refer to the agencies for redress. So the objective of the UCMS was to establish a common support mechanism between social protection programs and avoid duplication, and also provide a 24/7 access to beneficiaries and others who want to lodge complaints. So with the UCMS, you can lodge complaints at any time. But when it comes to the call center, we are civil servants, so we work during the working hours 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But we are looking at ways to expand the time so that we'll have people who will work there for longer hours. So the UCMS does a number of things. It serves as a centralized common platform for management of cases and reporting. It's also used to support anonymous case reporting. If you don't want to mention your name or whatsoever and report a case, the system allows for that, and also provides a means of accelerating cases to higher levels. When a case is referred to a case management officer and it's not redressed within time, the system is able to escalate it to the superiors to address it. So that's how the system linkage looks like. We have the beneficiary or the citizen who makes a complaint. It goes into the system, and then we refer to the appropriate social protection implementing agencies. And then we also have an integrated referral pathways. So from SWES, you are able to refer cases to all the programs that you can see around the circle, which are in the social protection basket. We are not limited to the social protection basket alone. We have collaboration with other implementing agencies of social protection as well. And then they have also given us their referral or their case management processes. I know it's more here, but this is so at SWES, we know the case management processes that it goes through when we refer a case to them, and that is what we have in the referral pathway here. So this is the process flow for SWES. When a call agent receives a call, the call agent interviews the beneficiary, and if it's an L1 case, which I've mentioned, that has to do with inquiry cases, the case management officer is able to address it, and when the caller is satisfied, the case is resolved and closed. Now, when it's an L2 case or L3 case and has to do with an administrative issue, we have the senior case management officer who reviews the cases and makes sure that it has all the necessary information for the implementing agency to be able to address the issue. And then the senior case management officer also classifies the case. So when it goes to the social protection implementing agency, they resolve it there, and then they give us feedback. And all this is done through the UCMS, it's done in the system. And then also, we also counter check with the beneficiary and find out whether indeed the case has been resolved and he or she is satisfied. If they are satisfied, We resolve it in our system and close it. Now, if the beneficiary or the citizen is not satisfied with the outcome of the case, we would have to reopen the case, reclassify it, and then escalate it to the boss. So when the referral is done, it goes to the case management officer of the implementing agency. So SWES is a referral system. It doesn't mean that they are taking the work of the various case management officers. They will be there all right, but it's an independent complaint mechanism and serves as a check and a monitoring system so that cases will be addressed effectively and addressed on time. So when the case is escalated to the head of the implementing agency and he or she is not also able to address it, we have the subcommittee on case management made up of all the heads of the social protection implementing agencies. So the case will go there and they deal with overdue cases and then cases of appeal. So when someone is not satisfied with a case, the person can present that case to the subcommittee, and as the head, you are accountable for it and you'll be called to answer. And SWES is embedded in our social protection bill, and the subcommittee is also in it. So I'll urge you, if you have your bill and you don't have the case management in it, that's a centralized one in it, I think you can push for it. I'm told you have already submitted it, but there's always room for amendments and review, and this is going to put people on their toes and ensure that they are accountable to whatever they spend and make sure that they provide the right services for people. And so these are the people that the UCMS uses. We have the beneficiary, the call agent, and the case management officers, and the head of the case management. And these are also the channels through which cases are reported. So the beneficiary can decide to use the web portal, the email, the phone, or the forms, which I have already talked about. And as a case management officer, you are able to perform these tasks. You are able to manage teams in the system. If you are a case management officer, for example, for the cash transfer, you have your team that you work with. So when we refer a case to you, you can also assign to your team members to work on it. You can manage tasks, you can resolve cases, and when you are not able to address an issue, you can also escalate it to your boss. And this is the complainer workflow also, that one can create a case, can track a case in the system. You can also log in or report a case anonymously, which I have already mentioned. So when one logs in a case, you're able to manage the case. You can update your case details and all that. And because of confidentiality, there are levels of access. Not everybody has access to the information in it. So the call agents can only log in the cases and then review or edit. A complainer can also just log in cases, review and edit. But there are other higher levels that has access to the details of the case and all that. And when you're a case management officer, we'll have to open an account for you so that you are linked in the system. So if you want to log in, you just go to ucms.mogcsp.gov.gh and you are in the system. And this is how the interface looks like. Sorry. And so if you want to log in a case, these are the processes, your username and password and the others. So in creating a case, you need some of these details to be able to create a case for it to be very meaningful. So these are the complainer requirements, your name, occupation, and other things to help us, help you address the case. And once it goes into the system, you can see that these are the cases with their case numbers in the red. So these are details. When you click the case number, you'll be able to get the details of the case in it and follow up with the case. Then you can also make internal notes. So we are able to communicate with the case management officers of the implementing agencies once they have an account, and they're able to give us updates on it. So all this serves as checks and evidence. So where the red button is, it's easy to edit and review cases there. And this was retrieved somewhere last week or about 2 weeks ago. I mean, you can easily retrieve a report, and it gives you the number of cases that have been received on some of the programs that we have here. There's the LEAP LIPW. So for example, from January 3rd to 27th October 2023, we received 91 cases from LEAP, and we have ensured that 86 have been resolved, and it goes for the other programs. And of course, we have other social issues which I mentioned earlier on, and these are the breakdown of cases. So it makes it very easy to have statistics like this, and we have a resolution rate of 90%. And then we also have the sex disaggregation. Interestingly, sometimes we have more males than females, and this is because some of the focal persons of the SP implementing agencies call on behalf of the beneficiaries to log in the complaints, which most of them are women. But for now, the system will record it as a male. We are planning to update it and put certain features in it so that we'll be able to have the actual number of males and females who report. That's why you have this vast difference. And then also I had a field visit in the northern part and realized that most of the women are afraid to complain. So when they go through domestic violence and all that, they're afraid when they complain, they will lose their marriages. So we try to create awareness and encourage more women to complain and lodge grievances to us. So these are a few achievements. I've mentioned the subcommittee on case management, which was inaugurated and is operational now. And then we have also linked the UCMS to the social protection programs, and very soon we'll be linking our API with that of the LEAP management secretariat. And I mentioned that the system is used during emergencies. So we were able to facilitate access to dry food rations during the partial lockdown when there was the outbreak of the COVID. And then we also do awareness creation to get more people, especially those in the hard-to-reach areas, to patronize the sweats. For them, they'll have to fall more on the toll-free lines. And then the elites can also use the UCMS. We have developed jingles in 9 languages, English and 8 other languages, to create more awareness and let people know that there's a helpline of Hope Call Center at the Ministry of Gender. So I'll share a few success stories with you. So during the lockdown, we supported them with the food, and you can see them holding it in bags. And then also there's a case on child labor. In December, a teacher reported a woman who patronizes her 3 nieces, 8, 10 years and 12 years, for strenuous activities. So they were hawking and they were doing chopping of firewood, and that deprived the children from going to school. So the case was referred to the district social welfare officer. The woman was arrested and put behind bars for some time. And then the elders of the community sat together with her and advised her and all that. And then she was released. So we made a follow-up call, and we were told that the children are doing well and they are now back in school. So we're not only focusing on the social protection programs, but then all other social welfare issues and other things. And this puts a bit of fear into the officers, because once we refer it to you and we call and we tell you that this is from Ministry of Gender and we are following up on it, they try to do their best to address these issues. There was a case where we referred a case to a social welfare officer, and then the social welfare officer tried to take advantage of the vulnerable person instead of helping her, and it was reported to us that this was it. So we're able to call the welfare officer and said that, look, we are following up with this case and it is in our system. Quickly, he released all the money to the lady and she was free. So this serves as a form of check, and we have that backing. And then there's also a case on domestic violence. In December, we had a female calling us from the Greater Accra region, and she made a complaint that her boyfriend has refused to accept responsibility of her pregnancy. So she stated that her boyfriend forced her to terminate the first pregnancy in 2001 and promised to marry her but didn't marry her. She traveled to, I think, one of the Arabic states or Saudi Arabia or so, and then she realized she was pregnant and had to come back to Ghana. The boyfriend wanted her to terminate the pregnancy again, and she said this time, no way, she wasn't going to terminate the pregnancy. And so she brought the case to us. We referred it to the social welfare officer, followed up with the case, and finally, the boy was made to accept responsibility of the pregnancy, and in fact he agreed to do the naming ceremony. So myself and one of my senior case management officers were at the naming ceremony to see to them and then to motivate them. We had something little for them from our pockets. Of course, we don't have that funding there, but sometimes when the story is so touching, we try to get something little for them to show them love. Then we also had a Ghanaian immigrant in the UK who also called us to complain about her husband who had come to Ghana to bring her 2 children to the UK. But according to her, the husband received the passport of the children and later on didn't want to take the children to her in the UK. So she called us, referred her to the social welfare officer, and later on when we followed up with the case, the woman complained that her kids are now safe with her and arrangements are now being made for them to join her in the UK. We have other cases on child maintenance and others. And then there's one also that a single mother called us for financial assistance. So we referred them to an NGO, that's African Women Initiative. Sometimes we need to get that collaboration with other NGOs because the government cannot do all. So you need to have them around you so that when you get such cases, you can refer them to them and then they'll help. So they did training for some of them. That's the lady in the pink, but I've blurred the face for confidentiality sake. So she received a soft loan of 1,000 Ghana cedis, which she wants to use for petty training and trading, and later on she also wants to have skills in hair dressing. So we're still looking for more NGOs to support us with some vulnerable people who call us and need assistance. And then we also have this boy. He's from a LEAP beneficiary household. The grandmother called us that he was suffering from leprosy and couldn't go to school. And this was very worrying for us. So we had to contact the social welfare officer in that district, kept following up on the case and trying to look for support for her, for the boy. And they had operations for him to be able to go to school. So he's now in school, and that is the end of my presentation. And the success stories gives me joy when I go home that I've been able to help very vulnerable people. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadere. The presentation was good. You can stay. All right, thank you so much. I hope we enjoyed the presentation. This is exactly what we envisage will happen. The Ghana Citizen Single Window Citizen Engagement Service is something that we really admired when we went there. So we felt it necessary that we invite them to this conference so that they also present for the entire social protection sector in the Gambia to also learn from. and I know she did justice to the topic, and then I hope we have learned a lot from it. On that note, I would want to open the floor for questions again. If you have questions or reactions, I'm going to take 4. Okay, yes, madam. Any other? Oh, this time around, only 1 question. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I am Senabu Martin. Good afternoon, Rara. I am Senabu Martin Sonko from Kerawan Area Council. I would like to first seize the opportunity to commend the Secretariat, the Social Protection Secretariat, the National Secretariat, for organizing this very important meeting. And also to commend the presenters this morning from our colleagues from Kenya and Ghana. We have gained a lot from their experiences and their success stories shared with us. I have been here since the start of the conference, and I have been following the issues that have been discussed, and most of my concerns have been addressed. I only wish to call the attention, especially the Secretariat, the attention of the Secretariat, to one issue I have been observing because of my current job location and my interaction with the local people there. Normally we encounter these traditional madrasas, and the kids they have with them, you call them almudus. I don't know how to pronounce it or how it is called in English. Yeah. I have been very concerned about them, and having been opportune to attend this program, I have all along been thinking about how to raise their issue here and to call the attention of the Secretariat to their plight, to see how to incorporate them into the social protection programs. Because I feel they will grow to be somebody in the society, and most of them turn out to be our imams, our religious leaders. So it is very important that they are also taken care of, and to help, particularly their caretakers, their ustas, because most of them, instead of focusing on their Quranic learning, they will be sent to the streets to seek for alms from people who are willing to help them. And I think this takes most of their time, like 80% or so, out of the time that they will spend on their Quranic education. So this is an issue that I haven't had been raised in this program, which I would like to see here and to know or to see how they will be considered in the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Sedika. Okay, let me give it to Mr. Sedika and I'll come back to you.
Good afternoon. I am Mr. Sedikan from the Office of the Ombudsman, and also the GRM consultant for National Social Protection Secretariat. That is the first GRM that was designed, and I think that system is still in progress until they change maybe to another system. So I thank the presenter from both the Kenya model and that of the Ghana model. Both models are progressive, and I think the way they are designed will definitely meet the needs, the grievances of the project beneficiaries or program beneficiaries when cases are reported. From the Ghana model, I've seen it's a centralized system in such a way that a legislation is provided by the Ministry of Gender to have a coordination and collaboration with different sectors within the Republic of Ghana. So that made them, that made it possible for them to refer cases to other stakeholders. So I want to ask, because there are classifications of grievances, that is cases. Classification number 3, that classify cases as very serious, like cases of fraud, corruption during implementation processes. When such cases are referred and a formal investigation is to take place, after the investigation, who does the recommendation? And after the recommendation, how is the implementation done?
Yes, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you all. I'm Pastor Tise, KMC. Madam, during your presentation, you do mention about a component that was spearheaded by the local government of Ghana. My question is, how much were they involved in the process, and what is their exact role and responsibilities? Thank you. Yeah, I said during her presentation, you do mention a component that was spearheaded by the local government of Ghana. My question is, how much were they involved in the process? And what is their exact role and responsibilities?
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I think the first one will be addressed by the National Secretariat. Okay, and then the second one on the level 3 classification, with the investigations and all that, everything is done by the implementing agency. So for example, if it's charged, they do everything. They will give their recommendations and then let us know. And then when they resolve it, we close it in our system. So we don't really play a key role because it's their work. So what we do is to monitor and to ensure that they have actually resolved the case and both parties are okay and happy. I hope I've answered your question, Mr. Lamin. Okay, and then the third question, you asked something about one of the components. Is it the LIPW? Did you say how we are involved? How SWES is involved? Is that what you mean? How the local government is involved? Well, they are very involved because it's done at the district level, so they do the selection and everything with them. And then they select the people, and then they give priority to LEAP beneficiaries and those who are very poor.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nadede, Auntie. Yes, you are discharged. Thank you so much. Give her a round of applause. Please let us give her another big round of applause. Police Ban, you are not helping us in clapping. Can you now help us? I mean you clap with the band. All right, thank you so much. I don't know how far is Philly and the team. We wanted to review the call to action paper before we move into the final ceremony. Our official MC is around. That is Jenaba Sonko. Jenaba, you are welcome to the podium. I think you have to discharge me now. Please give her a round of applause. Okay. The evaluation, Mustafa, can you project it now before the other team comes? It's projected. It's not. So they are projecting the evaluation. They want participants to scan it and then fill it online. Yes, and from there, Philly will come and then we'll read the call to action paper. We review and see. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be back. And I actually made a plea last time, which is on Monday, to say when I come back, I want to see the same faces. I should apologize, right? For feeling that I'm not going to see the same faces the next time I come. So I owe you all an apology. And, you know, I must say I am really happy that all of you are here. And then I'm sure when we look at the position paper, we will see that every detail is captured, considering that we are all from different sectors. So like Malang said, currently we have the post-evaluation, so you can just simply use your phone camera. You just open your camera and then you just scan it, and then the form will come and then you evaluate us. So make sure to evaluate us the way you want to evaluate us, right? But I'm sure we'll be getting positive feedback from you all. I'm sure. I'm not trying to buy you guys in, but I'm sure we will have positive feedback coming from all of you. So, like Malang said, we will be taking a look at the position paper together and finalize it. And we're expecting that we will have our development assistant partners for social protection financing to join us shortly. So each and every one of them will be giving us a short statement where they'll be committing when it comes to social protection financing. And then after that, we will read the call to action paper, and then we will hand it over to the Minister for Environment and Climate Change, Rohi John Manjang, who will be representing the Vice President of the Gambia, and this will be handed over and read by Kodu El Jabang Senghor, Permanent Secretary, Office of the Vice President. So this is what we'll be expecting in a moment when we have our guests here with us. So meanwhile, while we wait, we can just still open the floor if there are any suggestions or comments, not questions, but suggestions and comments, if there exists any, while we wait for our guests to arrive, so that we can interact among us, maybe give recommendations, suggestions, if we're having to organize an event as such next time. What are some of the things that we can even look into? Because our rapporteurs are still taking notes, right? So these are things that can always be included in the processes when it comes to the organization of subsequent social protection conferences. So the floor is open if there's any suggestion or comment. Any suggestions or comments? Child Protection Alliance, I can see the head here. Any suggestions in relation to, you know, the plight of children and social protection financing and how it can be channeled to ensure that, you know, the plight of children is deeply looked into and the current dynamics? I'm sure there's one or two things you can share with us.
You know, you get him on the spot again. All right, so thank you. I think one of the things that I've realized from that of the Kenya's presentation, when you look at the issue of the target, they have a clear cut of vulnerable children and orphan children. And I only hope that could be a good practice, that Gambia should be able to have a clear cut regarding children. Because at the national level, what I've realized most of the time, that when you talk about vulnerability, children are blended in everything. And when it comes to the level, the higher level, you realize that they are not visible. Especially when you look at the issue of the cash transfer, the NAFA project, how visible do we see children benefiting from it? And I think this is something that we want to see on the way forward. Maybe my final recommendation would be, after the event, after the submission of the call for action, what next? And I think there's supposed to be some little bit of a roadmap. How do we create a monitoring mechanism to ensure that we don't only hand over a position paper to the government without doing follow-up? I think this is one thing I want to recommend.
And actually, this is something that I talked about at the start of the conference, where I said we just hope it's not going to be one of those where we all gather here, put up a position paper, and then when we leave, it's not effective. I can give reference to, for example, the Children's National Assembly as a person who's responsible for children. The Children's National Assembly's position paper from the last sitting was not adopted by government till this sitting as well. They had to do a recall to action because the actions weren't implemented. So we don't want to do another recall to action when it comes to social protection financing. But like I said, the stakeholders are here, including yourself, right? At the level of the National, Child Protection Alliance, what can you do? What can other, sectors do as well to ensure that we push this agenda forward? So we have another contributor.
This is afternoon? Yeah. Okay, good afternoon. I wanted to ask question, but Jana said it's not time for question, it's just comments. Yes, so just contribution. My contribution will basically be on the social registry that is being developed by the Gambia. Yeah. Currently, those of us working in the social protection space have seen that we have conducted, of course, data collection in the social registry in over 40 districts rather. The only district or the only place left now is KM and Banjul. We have seen some challenges during the data collection. So this was highlighted probably by earlier presenters. But what is needed, and when I looked around, I see governors around, I see authorities around. The social registry is an important tool. In the Kenya presentation, it was mentioned that they always get data. In terms of targeting, there is always a need for data. And in the Gambia, we have a unique opportunity by creating the social registry, and this is going into the social registry information system, where if you want to do social protection targeting, it's just a database that you can go and pick. If you want to target people living with HIV, you can get it. If you want to target the most vulnerable people, you just do the proxy mean text, you get it. But the problem that we have been facing as a country is anytime the data collectors are doing data collection, the way people respond, sometimes they give fake information. Some will even refuse to answer. And this is a challenge that we face as a country. There will be an update on the system, but we need forums like this so that those allied at the district level, at the community level, at the ward level can sensitize households to give the true information. I think this is important. I heard Mr. Lamin mentioning the NAFA program, how children are in. And this is important for everybody to understand how does the NAFA program targeting happens. It happens through the social registry. And the targeting is done at the household level. Our thinking is every household have a child, either under 5 or above 5. But there is a child there. So the program is also having some other elements. That is not only cash transfer, but social and behavior change communication. That will actually bring sustainability at the household level. So it is important that we all understand how these programs are running and who are the beneficiaries of the program. Thank you.
Yeah, so in relation to the social registry, it's left with Banjul and KMC. They've already done the other regions. But, I mean, it's our responsibility because, like I said, looking at the people here, governors are present, heads of different institutions are present. Now it's about them using their influence at the end of the day. But thumbs up to the National Social Protection Secretariat because they actually use different ways to sensitize people. They use musicians, someone like me who's a media personality, and other individuals to actually sensitize individuals at community levels. So this also should draw our attention to the fact that, there's still a problem when it comes to politics, because that was part of the things, the fact that it is always associated to politics, and that brings in the role of political party leaders. I just wish they were invited, because they have a role to play when it comes to social protection. When programs are designed, they have to tell their people that it's not about a specific political party as in the incumbent, but it actually goes beyond that. So I think when it comes to that, we can't entirely blame the government or the secretariat, but at individual level, what are we doing to separate certain things that exist from development? I think that is a challenge that we also have as a country. So moving on, any other suggestion or comment? And we would like to recognize our international, delegates who actually came and presented, just so you are an edge above, what we are trying to build as a country. So we appreciate your contribution and looking forward to more collaboration. So any other comment or suggestion on previous presentations that have been done? I might be handing over the mic to just anyone. I might be doing that. So I see Omar Cisse. Actually, Omar is a representative of one of the regions. So it is important that we also use this opportunity just so you update us about the work that you are doing in the regions and how are you just dealing with social protection at regional level. We're happy about the fact that this is decentralized, So you won't answer questions, but you will just tell us, at regional level how work is going. Yes, please. Thank you, Omar.
All right.
Let me just answer questions. There's not much going on in the regions.
Okay. It seems I understand, Omar, but still, we appreciate the work that you're doing in the regions. It seems Omar actually has a surprise package for us when it comes to the work going on in the regions, and he does not want to disclose it to us right now. So that is the whole point. So when it's done, when these activities are done, Omar will get to disclose the amazing work that they're doing at the regional level. Yes, surely.
Thank you very much, moderator. I want to seize this opportunity to thank the organizers and, of course, the presenters from Kenya and Ghana. For your information, the one from Ghana, I am Haruna Baji. I work at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. So you have your partners fully represented here in the Gambia. For me, I think, I don't know if, I know for sure the repertoires may have been taking stock of the deliberations and of course the various suggestions and comments. But equally important also is to kind of put in a proper checks and balances in place so that at least 2 years from now, we will probably come back here or any other parts of this country and take stock of the call to action paper that have been drafted in 2023. I know sometime in 2021 we were in this very hall, and I can fully remember that a call to action paper was drafted. How far have we gone in the implementation of what we have agreed upon is everyone's guess here. So, but then it is important that we be reminded sometime in probably 2025 when we meet again, we take stock of how far we have gone in the implementation of what we tax ourselves as a country. But more importantly is the commitment on the side of the Minister of Finance to ensure that we don't only come here and give beautiful speeches, but equally we commit ourselves and said, yes, what we have allocated for social protection intervention is ring fence, and we ensure that at least there is no reallocation or kind of reprioritizing and say, yes, we have these other issues coming. I know that may not be, we cannot avoid that, but it's important we take note of that and ensure that whatever that we intend, especially when it comes to our commitment as a country. For example, if bilaterals or donors said, well, we can give you $100, but you have to commit $5 to get $100. I think we have to live by that and ensure that we do it to get the $100. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, during the minister's speech, the Minister of Finance speech, he did talk about bringing us back to the point of the social registry, because he talked about the fact that when the social registry is done, we will, government will subsidize fuel, food. So we can always link back to what he said. You know, we can always use that to hold them accountable. He did mention that. And that is within a short period. The other regions have been done. We're just waiting for Greater Banjul and Banjul. And then we'll be like, you talked about subsidies when it comes to fuel, food, other necessities. Where are they? So we're just hoping that, you know, government will stick to its commitment. And that is why we're all here.
You were absent yesterday. We're going to charge you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much. I think I just want to add to what our able financial specialist has said. There is a need to improve the social registry in such a way that it will be able to capture the chronically ill and some of the children also. Like, it's not only based on assumptions that every household may have a child. That's one thing. It also, I would look forward to see, like it has been an experience in Kenya, where the president made a pronouncement to say, at the age of 70, everyone should be qualified to have a cash transfer benefit. By proxy means, that is one thing. By means, that is another. But also, citizens who have served in this country, even though they are not formally employed, registered and paid, but they are working maybe at the farmland, some are tailors, some are fishermen, at that age of 70. I think it should be a wisdom to cater for their needs. Like, if we are unable to do exactly like the Europeans from the cradle to the grave, at least but we can look at the possibilities, how best we can grow towards that. Thank you.
So I'm happy that you gave that suggestion, but at the same time, you are trying to be realistic about it, because we have to also be realistic of the state of our economy. If you were here on Monday and you watched the documentary, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture talked about the loopholes when it comes to the collection of even our tax. In as much as we are a tax-based economy, but the leakages are there. So how can we ensure that those things do not exist to an extent that we can achieve what you're talking about at 70? And aside from that, how can we also ensure that persons who are living in the diaspora will control the way they send remittances? Because it matters. You know, remittance sending is very informal in the Gambia. How can we formalize this to ensure that it is as formal that when you're sending money to someone, it's about starting a business rather than sending every single month? I think that advocacy as well will be a step in the right direction to ensure that people are protected socially, even if government is not giving them the physical cash, but mechanisms to ensure that ways in which people get money is formalized to an extent that it actually benefits them. I think that is something that can be looked into in a way. But also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was working on this mentorship program for persons in the diaspora along those lines. So we need to just get an update about how far we have gone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Geneva. Thank you very much, the organizers of this particular very important event. For me, I have 2 points to share with my colleagues before the end of this day. One of them will go to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. In as much as we want to establish a holistic data in terms of social registry in this country, most often in this country, we tend to deviate from the urban poverty. If you look around these and the Kololi, the Kotu, and we've seen so many children who are at the back of women who are on drugs. So these people, how do we bring them into this package? Because I know that going to be part of this particular issue is about voluntary. People come out. But did they even access the information that this particular program is going on? How do we enhance the welfare of those kids? Because if you go around Kololi and here, you have so many women who are into drugs, you have their kids at their back. And that those kids have right to, welfare. Do we capture those things in our program? Do we capture these vulnerable people in our program? Because here in the Gambia, when people are into drugs, we tend to abandon them. Because we don't have even correct rehabilitation centers in this country. The other thing also is about the issue of financing. Still, that is the tackling illicit financial flow. Fadila, when he was presenting, he said it here. This is very important. Because despite we are tax-based economy, we all know in this country here, if you want to increase tax, you are going to kill so many small businesses. Banjul Breweries is an example. It has been in this country for quite a long time. It has employed so many people, but at the end, what happened? Because of tax, they had to close, and this has redundant so many Gambians. But the resources we have here with us, we have our fisheries, we have our other minerals here. How do we control them? How do we, so that the money get back to the people where these endowed resources are? When we have these things and we control this illicit financial flow, I think it's going to help the government not wholly depend on the donor funding in terms of funding social protection program in this country. We need to stand up and tackle the illicit financial flow. Thank you.
So I am not working for the National Social Protection Secretariat, but I can confidently tell you that during the social registry that was conducted for the urban areas, proper communication channels were actually used. They used different individuals to the extent of using the likes of Uncle Jaliba Kuyate, using media personalities, using radio, using local communicators. So really the information was there. The information was there, but we just have to follow further. But our guests are just arriving. We have the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Rohi John Manjang, is here to represent the Vice President of the Gambia as we close this 3-day International Social Protection Conference. We welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. Also, our development partners are here to commit to increasing social protection financing. So we can just have some of our development partners join the minister on the high table. Yes, we can just have that. We also have the deputy country rep for UNICEF. You can kindly join the minister. Yeah, so thank you so much. So we will just go with the national anthem just as we started, and individual prayers, and then we will head right on to the closing ceremony. Please rise for the national anthem. Thank you so much, Police Band, for being with us since the start of the conference. So we can just pray in our own individual ways, please. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for being with us for the past 3 days. It has been an amazing conference. So we're also happy that we are joined by the Minister of Climate Change and Environment in the Gambia, Rohi John Manjang, she's delegated by the Vice President of the Gambia. But I think this is a very good delegation, considering the fact that we are all aware of the challenges when it comes to climate change related matters that we get to deal with as a country on a daily basis. So it's good that she's here. As a sector, that there's a lot of social protection financing that should be channeled through disasters and climate change related matters. So thank you so much for joining us. So moving on, we are aware that currently in the Gambia, social protection programs are not fully funded by government. And most of the programs that we get to benefit from as citizens of this country is usually funded by development partners. And we want to recognize their efforts. So because of that, we'll be inviting the different development partners to actually give us their commitment when it comes to increasing social protection financing. But in as much as they give us their commitment, we are also, as a government, going to be motivated by the amazing work that they are doing when it comes to financing social protection programs, to say we are also committing as a government and as a people of the Gambia to look for ways to also internally increase social protection financing, which will bring about the sustainability that we are talking about as in the team. So first off, I would invite the Deputy Representative for UNICEF to give his commitment. Thank you so much. A round of applause. UNICEF has been a very, very important development partner when it comes to social protection in the Gambia, and particularly to the National Social Protection Secretariat. We appreciate your efforts.
Honorable Minister, colleagues representing UN agencies, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Armand Yaure and I'm the Deputy Rep for UNICEF. As you know, UNICEF has been supporting social protection system in the Gambia for years now. And this is one of the key priority areas we will continue investing in. We are currently finalizing the development of our new country program, and in this country program we'll have social policy as a key program component. In addition to the support we provide in sectors like health and immunization, nutrition, water and sanitation, education and child protection. So having a fully dedicated program component related to social policy and including social protection will enable UNICEF to strengthen and increase the supports that we provide to the system. And of course, this is part of the contribution of the UN system in the Gambia to the National Development Plan. And to give you few ideas of areas of our support, of course, in addition to the coordination mechanisms that are important for the national social protection systems and mechanisms, we'll continue supporting data collection and management systems, and also give priority to areas like public finance for children and also expenditures for the most vulnerable people. Our support will also cover key areas including acceleration of social protection coordination, as I earlier mentioned, but also information management systems to inform programs and measure delivery and feedbacks. We'll also increase our support to accelerate advocacy in public finance for children, for more spending and better spending in social protection, particularly gender and child responsive social protection. On top of that, through our support, we'll also have a focus on accelerating engagement of National Assembly to improve oversight functions of budget processes. Capacity building is also key in the support provided to the national social protection systems. So that will also be part of the support that we want to focus on, including building capacity of adolescents and youth in budget processes to increase citizen participation. And also, as UN agency, as I earlier mentioned, our support will also be to participate in interagency social protection mechanisms to support the implementation of the NDP and of the collaboration framework that the UN system has with the Gambia. Now, this is complementary to what we are doing in other sectors, as you know. The support we provide, for example, in education. Most of you know the blue bags that we provide in schools, but also the support we provide in health, nutrition, water and sanitation will continue, will be strengthened with more resources allocated so as to contribute to the achievements of the National Development Plan. So I will end here confirming our full commitment as UNICEF to continue our support and to thank the National Social Protection Secretariat and the Vice President for the leadership and for all the work that has been done so far. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for recommitting, because you've already been committed throughout, the processes like you pointed at. While he was recommitting to support social protection, I saw some of the social protection staff smiling over there because they felt like, oh, our work is going to continue with, these commitments that we are receiving from UNICEF. So thank you so much. A round of applause for him once again. So up next, we all are aware of the importance of food in the country, and when disasters hit, we all understand that it is important that food is available. When people have food, they're able to have the energy to continue to work, to even produce further. And we have a specific body that has been very supportive when it comes to this area. And the FAO Deputy Country Representative is here with us to join us here to also recommit, because they're already committed and we are already aware of their efforts, to recommit to supporting social protection programs in the Gambia. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, okay, so I was informed that we have the FAO. I was informed. Yes, FAO, sure, yeah. A double F, yes, so we're welcoming the FAO representative. A round of applause for him.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Minister of Environment, Climate Change and Natural Resources, Permanent Secretaries, Deputy Permanent Secretaries, Directors, and staff of government institutions here present, governors and area council representatives, members here present, members of civil society organizations, members of the press and print media, ladies and gentlemen. FAO is privileged to support and to participate in this International Social Protection Conference 2023. FAO recognizes the critical role social protection plays in ensuring and accelerating progress around food security and nutrition, in agricultural development, in social poverty alleviation, and in resilience building. FAO social protection actions are guided by the FAO social protection framework. And the framework has a vision, and this is to ensure that people and communities living in rural areas, as well as those whose livelihoods depend on natural resources, are supported by social protection systems. It is also essential to help in ensuring that their food security and their nutrition